What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy and welcome to another FPL preseason video for the 18-19 season. Today we are talking cheap defenders, 4.5 million and below. No one in this video is more than 4.5 million. So the absolute budget options. Now, in seasons gone by, these are generally the kind of players that you put in because you want to bulk out the rest of your squad with more expensive players. And obviously nothing's really changed in that regard. But there's some really good options at 4.5 million. I think it makes going for a cheaper defence that bit better than in previous seasons, or at least you can talk yourself into it a bit more. So I'm going to go through who I think are the best options probably for 4.5 million, especially during the kind of opening set of fixtures, and then also look at some other options that we might want to consider down the season, or depending on what happens in pre-season. So let's just jump straight into it and start off with the first player. So we'll start off with Cedric for this one. And I feel like when FPL launched and everyone started chatting about who was priced at what, a lot of people saw Cedric as maybe underpriced, and even the FPL had made a mistake in pricing him at just 4.5 million. Now, if you look at the rest of the Southampton defence, Vestergaard, Bertrand coming at 5 million, and then you've got Hoyt, Stevens, and Yoshida all at 4.5 million as well, same as Cedric. So straight away, I see some value there. If I look at a player, whether it's going to be value, whether they're going to be value or not, I'll sometimes look at whether I'd pay more for them. Now, obviously, you'd never want to pay more than a player's price that. You always want to pay less. But if you look at Cedric, 4.5 million. Would I consider him if he was priced at 5 million, or would I just shut the door on him straight away? And I'd probably consider him. I'm not saying I would definitely go for him, but at 5 million, he still possibly represents value. To give you an example where I wouldn't, Ozil is priced at 8.5 million. Would I consider him at that? Maybe. I think there's probably better options right now, but 8.5 million doesn't sound too disastrous. If he was priced at 9 or 9.5, would I still go for him? Probably not. So that's where I'm looking at with value. So Cedric at 4.5, we'll consider him at 5, definitely value. Now you look at the results from last year, 7 clean sheets, 3 assists, only 85 points. I think that's pretty poor. The Southampton were poor in general. Mark Hughes came in obviously late on in the day. Didn't have too much time to turn it around. But hopefully from the off this year, he can increase that. Brighton, for example, got 10 clean sheets last year. Obviously no disrespect to them, but I think Southampton are as good, if not better, and probably get at least 10 clean sheets and hopefully increase the attacking potential. There's probably a chance that they're going to play 3 at the back as well. So Cedric would be deployed as a right wing back. So potential there for more attacking returns, but it doesn't necessarily equate to that. So obviously, whether he's playing right back or right wing back, he's still got the same attacking potential in terms of how good he is at crossing, assists and stuff like that. Yes, he should be further up the pitch. Doesn't mean he can deliver a ball any better. And obviously then, who's going to play up front for Southampton and convert those chances? A lot of FPL players like Charlie Austin. Will he start? We don't know. Could be Gabbiadini. How good will he be? Etc. So right wing back not necessarily going to equate to more points, definitely. But it does tell him he's hopefully going to be more attacking, so it could be good for us. I think the fixtures are strong as well. Burnley at home, Leicester at home, Brighton at home is really nice in the opening 6. Liverpool away, a bit of a tough one. And then Crystal Palace and Everton, I don't know, 50-50 I'd say for a clean sheet there. You'd probably back the teams playing at home, of course, but I think Southampton could potentially get a clean sheet there. So I could see 2, maybe 3 clean sheets in the first 6 games. I think for 4.5 million is a really solid pick. I'd expect Southampton to improve this year. And Cedric probably going to be in my team if I need a 4.5 million defender. So we'll continue on with Charlie Daniels, a bit of an FPL fan favourite, including my own. He's one of only 2 defenders outside of Marcus Alonso that I ever recall getting me 18 points in a single game week, which is goal, assist, and a clean sheet, plus the 3 bonus points for a defender. So it was him and Callum Chambers, weirdly enough. So I do have a bit of a soft spot for him. He started off in my team last year. He was 5 million. Didn't really do a lot, to be honest, for me. Got a goal early on against Man City, but that was about it. Fixture-wise, they open up pretty good. Cardiff at home, Everton at home, and Leicester at home in their opening 6. All winnable, I'd say, for Bournemouth, even though they will be tough, especially the Everton and Leicester ones. And even Cardiff on the opening day of the season are going to be really up for it. So that could be a tough one for Bournemouth too. And then West Ham, Chelsea and Burnley are all pretty tough away. Burnley, yes, we don't consider too many goals from them, but they will have already started pre-season a bit earlier because they got Europa League even, and obviously Chris Wood's there, and if he's fit, he could be firing too. So I think Bournemouth's fixtures are okay to open up, but not great. And then if we look at the last season, he got 94 points, not fantastic to be honest. Only 6 clean sheets for Bournemouth, that's really poor. Are they going to get more this year? Well, the season before they got 10, but before that it was 7. So they've not got a great track record at keeping up consistently with clean sheets. So we don't know if that's going to improve. Will the assists and goals improve? Well, he got 1 goal, 3 assists last year. To be fair, that was down on previous seasons with 4 goals, 3 assists the season before, and then 3 goals, 5 assists the season before that. But it's worth noting he's 31 now. He's going to turn 32 in September. Could be just potential that the legs are going a little bit, not able to get us forward as much. And therefore, will he improve this season? I just don't know. I want to say yes because it's Charlie Daniels and I love him just like everyone else that's played FPL for a few seasons. But for me, I'm probably not going to include him right now unless I need 4.5 million defenders. But I think that's going quite cheap in defence. And I'd probably like to spend a little bit more. So for me, I don't think I'm going to open up with him, even though that Cardiff fixture looks really nice. And he's probably going to be nailed on unless they bring someone else in. I'm just not convinced that Bournemouth are going to suddenly keep more clean sheets. And I don't know if he's going to improve on those attacking returns. So for me, not a great option, but I can see why people are looking to go for him. Tomkins is next up at Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace are pretty interested in terms of defence. They've got really, really good opening fixtures, and they've got options potentially all the way from 4 million upwards. So I'm going to talk about Tomkins because we're doing a 4.5 million defender video. But obviously, if you wanted to go for someone cheaper, I think the name is Van Bissaka. Apologies if I've mispronounced that. But he's 4 million for Crystal Palace. Now, we didn't necessarily think he was going to start, but he did start in a very strong lineup team pre-season. So I will keep an eye out for the rest of the lineups over pre-season and see if he starts the final one before the season starts, because that's usually a strong indicator of how the teams are going to line up for the first game of the proper season. So Van Bissaka, 4 million could definitely be an option, and I think if you're going for a cheap defender spot and he is going to play, then he's the one to go for. I'll stick with Tomkins just in case. So 99 points last year, 9 clean sheets is pretty impressive for just 2,300 minutes. Obviously, bear in mind, without injuries, he'd probably play 3,000 minutes plus. So obviously those points would go up. You're not necessarily going to keep this defender or player for the whole year, but still a pretty good score. And those 9 clean sheets is impressive when you remember how bad Crystal Palace started last year. And they needed Roy Hodgson to come in because they just couldn't win a game. He turned it around, took a little bit of time, but Roy Hodgson, as much as he gets a bit of stick for the way he managed England and stuff, is actually a pretty top manager. And I can see good things. I think they're going to improve on that 9 clean sheets this year with him at the helm. Pretty solid team, but they probably need a few reinforcements for the squad as a whole. But first 11 is okay, defensive-wise as well, obviously with Hennessy in goals. So I like Tomkins. He's possibly my favourite 4.5 million defender to start the season. It's tough because of Cedric. Obviously, he's a really good option. But I really like Tomkins' fixtures in Crystal Palace. Obviously, Liverpool at home is tough. But then you've got Fulham, Watford, Southampton, Huddersfield and Newcastle, the other 5 fixtures to open up. It doesn't tend to get too much better than that, especially for a 4.5 million defender. So for me, I'm looking at him. Obviously, you've got Van Arnold, 5.5 million. Sacco, who is a bonus point magnet at 5 million, and possibly a 4 million defender to look at. But if you need a 4.5 million one, you want to go for Crystal Palace, I really like Tomkins. So although Brighton don't have the best opening fixtures, I do want to talk about Duffy as possibly one to put in if you're just going to stick with that 4.5 million defender for a while. You possibly want a goal off the bench, or you're thinking about it later on who to bring in. So I think Duffy 4.5 million, absolutely nailed on barring injuries. 3,292 minutes last year. 10 clean sheets, which I mentioned earlier in the video. I think that's a pretty good return. Do I think Brighton will improve on that greatly? Probably not. But 100 points is decent enough, I think, for a 4.5 million defender. Bearing in mind he didn't score any goals last year. Now, that would indicate that maybe he's got no goal for it, but that's absolutely not the case. He's actually got unbelievable goal for it. For shots in the box, he was actually only second to Alonso last year. The goal just never materialised. But if you watch Brighton play, and I had him for a while, he just always looked like a goal threat in the box. The goal never came, unfortunately. That happens. It's a defender after all. But I like him for goal threat, and I think he's going to get some goals this year. And if they can nail the 10 clean sheets again, which I think is possible, I don't necessarily think they'll improve on that, but possible to get it again, then you could be looking at 110, 120 score. And I think sometimes when you've got that player on the bench that you don't necessarily want to play too often, I think a lot of people will line up with kind of 5.5 million defenders plus who they want to play week in, week out. It's sometimes nice to have that defender on the bench that can kind of score a goal against anyone, or has got the potential to score against anyone. So if they do have to come in, even if they're not going to keep a clean sheet, maybe they can nick a goal. So I like Duffy. I just wanted to mention him because 100 points is a decent return. And I think he does have goal threat. I hope he gets some this year, because he really, owners like me last year really deserved at least one, let alone maybe 2 or 3. So opening fixtures, Watford away is going to be tough enough. Then Man United and Liverpool is horrible. Spurs as well in that. And then Fulham at home, Southampton away is okay. So they're not completely awful, but there's better players that I've already talked about, like the likes of Cedric and Tomkins. So Duffy, definite clean sheet potential, really good shots inside the box. So I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be able to keep that up this year. Obviously, we got Dunk as well as an option too. Unfortunately, scored a few own goals, but also has goal threat at the other end. So Duffy an option, but probably not straight away, I wouldn't say. So I just want to talk about a couple of the other 4.5 million options. I'm not going to go into as much detail in terms of fixtures and score last year, but you've got Yedlin, only 2 assists in 3,000 minutes, 7 clean sheets. Not great, but I feel like Rafa Benitez is a manager that can improve on that. So potentially you could see a bit of an increase. The only thing with Yedlin is Newcastle's fixtures were awful to start with. So a bit like Duffy, fixtures are even worse, to be fair, for Yedlin. But one to consider maybe for the future. A lot of people, I think, will be wildcarding early on. So although you might not want him for game week 1, you might want him for an early wildcard. So take a look at Yedlin. I think Jagielka and Williams are really interesting because they're 4.5 million defenders in an Everton side, which most of us, I think, would say should improve this year under Marco Silva. You've got Baines and Coleman, obviously, left and right back, 5.5 million. Then you've got Michael Keane, probably guaranteed to play, who's 5 million, but he needs a partner. And unless Everton buy someone, it's probably going to be Jagielka or Williams. Now, tonight, as I'm recording this, they've lined up with Jagielka, but that's not to say he'll definitely keep playing. But definitely one to monitor. And Jagielka, although he didn't get any attacking returns last year, has shown in previous seasons that he's got goal threat. So if I see that one of those two players is nailed on going into the season, or it looks like they are, Everton really good fixtures, suddenly I think they probably jump to the top of the 4.5 million list. So keep an eye on them. Only other ones to mention are Holobas. Now, it does seem likely that Holobas now, I've spoken to a Watford fan today on Twitter, they said that he's probably being phased out and possibly not going to start the season. If we see pre-season, maybe there's an injury or it looks like actually he is going to start, I would definitely look for him. I think Watford's opening fixtures are mixed, but he was really good for chances created last year. He was only third, only behind Trippier and Ben Davies. Only one behind Trippier for chances created. He got 4 assists, and although his fixtures are mixed, I think he could do really well for Watford this year if he starts. But like I say, we'll have to watch pre-season with him. He's a bit of a dodgy one. Possibly Jagielka or Williams, better option. And last but not least, I had to mention Zanka because he was the top scoring defender last year for those that this year are priced 4.5 million. Absolutely nailed 3,400 minutes. 10 clean sheets, 3 assists is okay. I think he got 107 points. So again, Huddersfield, tough 2 opening fixtures, but then fixtures get a little bit better after that. So again, maybe not one for game week 1, but you could look at them for game week, for an early wildcard going forward. So they're just some other options. They want to go into as much detail because they're still a bit up in the air with a lot of them over fixtures or whether they're going to start. But Jagielka and Williams definitely got my eye on. So that's it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below not only how many 4.5 million defenders you're putting in, but how do you rank them in terms of priority. Is Cedric the best? Tomkins? Are you a massive Charlie Daniels fan? Do you think he can up that goal involvement this year? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. Thumbs up is always appreciated. Let me know any questions you got below, and obviously hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you know when the next video is going live. Hopefully this will be up on Wednesday night, so just to let you know that the next stream will be Thursday at 9:30 PM UK time, so that's Thursday the 19th of July, so make sure you tune in for that. I'll be answering all your questions. Obviously, still a lot up in the air in terms of knowledge for FPL because we still need the pre-season to go through and look at injuries, returns from the World Cup and stuff, but we'll go through my current thoughts and draft and stuff like that in the stream. Otherwise, I'll leave it there. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers all.